guys, and welcome back to my corner. We're now on day 9 of making our sweater, and today we're going to be working on the back ribbing. If you haven't seen my video from before where I talk about circular needles, I highly recommend you watch that before doing this one, just so you don't get confused, so you know what I'm doing if you choose to do circular needles, because that's what I'll be using. But of course I'm going to go over, if you're doing it with straight needles, exactly what to do. And we'll also be talking about how to stick it onto your sweater. And I will be releasing a video after this one about my invisible stitch, so that if you're doing it in 2 pieces, you'll be able to know how to connect your pieces seamlessly. So I'm excited. I know you're excited to get started, so let's go. Okay, so here we have the back of our sweater. As you can see, here are our front panels with our ribbing already attached. Now to figure out how many stitches you'll need for your back piece, it's literally super simple. It's literally just these front ribbings connected. So because we have, 3 panels here, 3 panels here, a total of 6 panels on the back, just like the front. So literally I have 80 here and I have 80 on this side, so it's literally going to be 160 stitches total for the back piece. Now, if you want to prove that with your math, just to double check to make sure that what you're casting on is the correct amount of stitches, remember it's your number of stitches times 0.85, and that will give you your number. Now, for example, mine is 94 stitches total, but that's with chunky yarn. So remember that thin yarn takes twice as much, so it would be 94 plus 94, which is 188. I would multiply that by 0.85 and get 159.8, but as you know, we're working in multiples of 4, and I just went up a stitch, so 160 to get my multiple of 4, and that's what I will be casting on to create my back ribbing. Now, I'll be using circular needles. If you watched my last video, you already saw the ones that I'm working with. So I'll be able to cast on all 160 stitches in one, but if you're not feeling it, if you're, circular needles aren't for you, or if you simply are unable to get them, like I said in my last video, you can definitely use the size 7 needles, straight needles that you've been using. So you would just have to do 1/2 and then the other, and then after this video, I'm posting how to seamlessly connect both so that you can attach them all in one piece, because I do recommend stitching them together and then sewing it onto your sweater in one piece, just to make it a little easier for you, so you don't have to worry about sewing one piece the other and then attaching it. Alright, so here I have my 160 stitches casted on, and just to reiterate what I said before, if you are using straight needles, which is totally fine, you'll be sewing it in 2 pieces, and I would recommend waiting for me to release that invisible stitch video so that you can sew your piece in one and not have to worry about sewing 2 pieces and then connecting them later. So here are my circular needles. I've already done a few, but literally when you're casting on, it's the same exact way that you would cast on straight needles, and I think they're pretty awesome, because literally, I have 160 stitches on here, which is pretty cool. So I'll end up having it in one piece. But something that I found pretty useful is that I marked off with a safety pin. As I went along, every 20 stitches, I would put a safety pin, so that by the end, I wouldn't have to count all 160 stitches to make sure that they were there. So this is a cool, neat, hack that you can try when casting on if you're using circular needles, or even if you're using the straight ones and you don't want to lose count. I do them every 20, and then I just make sure that I have all my stitches on there. So basically, yeah, you use it in the same way that you would use straight needles. I've seen obviously people online going like, oh, I use them to make infinity scarves. That's what happens when you don't turn over your work. So I'm just going to tell you now, don't forget to turn over your work, or else you're going to end up with a infinity scarf. So literally, it's the same pattern, and all you're going to do is you're going to take them, and it's literally just the same thing. So hopefully I can do this kind of in the air. So there we have knit 2, and then purl 2. So there we have that beginning. Obviously here's the end of the piece we have the beginning of our pattern. And this one is just gonna keep kind of pushing itself along until it ends up over here. Coming into my last 4 stitches on this row. So it's literally just my final knit 2. And then, purl 2. And there I have, my next row. Obviously we try to keep this as untwisted as we can. Obviously I'm still new to these, so I'm still working on how to do that. But something that I did learn, and make sure stitches don't come out. Something that I did learn when researching about circular needles is that you want to keep the edge of your work on the inside. So now that I have this, just to turn over the work is literally just turning it over. So hopefully that didn't look like a complete mess. There we go. So then we just turn it over and we start again. So we're starting on 2 knit stitches again. Make sure I have my yarn here. So yeah, so 2 knit stitches again. And 2 purl stitches. And there's the beginning of my next row. Okay, so here we have our completed piece laid out next to the sweater. And as always, when you are securing your sweater, use a safety pin or anything that you have at hand to secure your ribbing to your sweater so that when you're stitching, and we'll be using a back stitch like we have been, a back stitch on the outside, to make sure that you're stitching it in place. Okay, so here is our attached ribbing. As I mentioned before, it is a back stitch on the outside like we have been doing. And if you have done your ribbing in 2 pieces, I will be posting a video of my invisible stitch so that you can attach your piece in one. That will just make it easier for you so you don't have to worry about attaching 2 pieces and then trying to figure out how to connect them. So if you have any questions or really just want to show me your progress, feel free to reach out to me on any of my social media. I am happy to help and also there to give you a big virtual hug because I'm proud of you and how far you've come from the start. So like this video, subscribe to my channel to keep up, and remember to always treat people with kindness.